It takes me a few minutes to get down the stairs on my stiff ankle. Once I get into the kitchen, I'm confronted by an odd scene. Jenna is halfway into the wood-burning stove, reaching into the back, probably up into the metal tube.
There is a fish in the back of the oven.
What?
I was wondering if you could reach it for me.
Just crawl in there.
Some salad fingers. That's my favorite. I used to say that all the time.
It's also
there is a fish in the back of the oven.
It's also got to be like salad fingers
I was
riffing on
wondering
what's it called?
Reach it for me.
The twins?
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, Hansel and Gretel.
Basically, yeah. But it's salad fingers, so it's much cuter.
What are you doing?
Getting the fish out of the back of the oven.
She found something.
A fish.
Raven's standing off the side of the stove, bouncing on the balls of his feet.
It's stuck. The fish is stuck?
Jenna grunts as she adjusts herself, reaching in from a different angle. What is it? I hobble slowly across the room towards them. You need help? I realize he's talking to me, but I shake my head at the husky as I watch Jenna pull back and look into the opening of the stove.
Goddamn thing shouldn't be that hard to get.
Maybe I can help? But Jenna's already plunging her hand back in, head sticking just out of the opening as she does. That seems to garner some success as she smirks.
Ha! Got it.
Well, what's up,
Oh
game?
no!
Then her whole body jerks as she's seemingly yanked into the opening. Raven yelps as Jenna grabs onto the side of the stove to keep from getting pulled in. Oh my gosh! Jenna? My voice rises in panic as I see her get yanked a second time. Raven automatically steps up next to her and grabs her arm. A third yank almost pulls him off his feet. I run over to help and wrap my arms around Jenna's waist to get a better grip. Another jolt and I'm able to feel the power of whatever has a hold on Jenna myself. What's happening? I hear a thudding and rustling in the stove, like something's turning over angrily and repeatedly. The image of some kind of caged animal passes through my mind, and it sends chills up my spine.
No, you fucking don't!
I look up at the fox and notice that she doesn't look scared at all. Instead, she looks pissed off, her lips drawn back in a snarl, teeth bared viciously. She's talking to whatever is in the stove. I feel the muscles in her body tense up, and writhing under my hands as she twists to get free. I look around her body at Raven. His face, in contrast, is a mask of horror. Raven! His wide eyes snap to mine. Get a grip around her body. We'll pull at the same time. He briefly lets go of Jenna's arm to lean down on her other side and wrap his arms around her waist. Okay, on 3. 1, 2. Another yank and suddenly Jenna's upper half is pulled into the stove. I lose my balance and fall back on my butt, knocking my head against the metal stove. My eyes water and I let go with one hand, desperately rubbing at the back of my head while I loosely keep a grip on Jenna with the other. Chase! Raven's actually sliding into the fireplace himself at this point. I try to get my bearings and pull myself back up next to Jenna, but at that point something big and bulky comes barreling into the room.
Big boy's here.
My vision clears just in time to see the big ram reach in for Jenna's body, practically pushing Raven aside. His horns clang loudly against the stove as he wraps his arms around Jenna's body and pulls back with all 270 pounds behind it. The fox emerges slowly, both of her arms still stuck in the stove, and a determined look still on her face. Carl lets go for half a second, lunging forward to grab both of Jenna's elbows. He yanks back again, letting out a strained grunt. As her wrists emerge from the stove, I get a glance at black tendrils wrapped around them before those tendrils suddenly disappear. Carl and Jenna are both launched back, Jenna getting a cushioned landing on top of the ram as Carl lets out a loud wheeze. I hobble over to them, kneeling next to Carl as Jenna rolls off of him, eliciting another grunt. She sits up while Carl continues to lay there, his eyes wide. "You guys okay?" Carl waves a hand at me, rolling over onto his side as he gasps breathlessly. Jenna sits next to him, holding her hands up. I can already see some nasty swelling under the fur covering her wrists. I wince. "Jenna, are you alright?"
I'm fine.
She's not looking at her wrist, though. Instead, it's at an ash-smudged, folded piece of paper in her hands. From the bits that aren't covered, I can see that the paper is yellowed and ancient-looking. Not at all like the clearly photocopied newspaper we'd seen earlier. Jenna looks down at it, standing up. I hear a groan next to me and turn back to Carl.
Can't go a day without getting beat up.
I rub his shoulder as I look down at him, smiling. "Wow, that was kind of heroic." Carl grunts as he sits up.
You think so?
"Yeah, all at the last second, too." Carl rubs his knees.
Would have gotten here earlier if I hadn't tripped down the stairs like twice.
He stares at the stove.
What the hell was that?
I look, too, into the yawning black hole and shiver. I don't know. It was all black and smoky. Like what we saw before.
Think it'll come out of there?
Raven suddenly steps in to lift up the stove door, twisting the handles to lock it. He yelps as he does it, jumping back as soon as the deed is done. I chuckle, then look back to Carl. Over his shoulder, Jenna walks into my field of vision. The paper is open in her hands, and she's holding it over the candle. All at once, I realize what she's trying to do. I choke on whatever I'm about to say next, and leap up awkwardly onto my injured ankle. "Jenna!" Luckily, Jenna's only about 5 feet away, and I practically fall into her, pushing her away from the candle. We both fall against the bench under the window. Jenna's hand smacks against my nose, bringing tears to my eyes. I yelp as she pulls her fingers in, raking lines of fire down my nose with her claws. There's a pounding in my ears, and I distantly register that the drums have started up again. She twists out from under me and pulls away from the bench. When the fuck did she get this strong? Back at the carnival. I numbly keep my grip on her wrists, and she spins, swinging me away from her. I lose my grip and stumble back, stepping wrong on my foot and re-bending my ankle the exact same way I did last time.
Ouch.
I yelp again, much more loudly this time as I crumple to the ground. Carl swears and jumps over me at Jenna. "Wait!" I try to grab him by the hoof that's passing over me, but I miss miserably. As I sit up, I hear an ungodly, bestial snarling, and I look up to see Carl wrestling, kicking and scratching Jenna to the ground.
That is fucking it!
He pins her there, while she writhes under him, trying to scratch at his face. "Stop it, guys!"
Stop fighting!
Raven is still standing off to the side, his paws on his head, pulling at his ears.
Aw.
I crawl over to the writhing bodies, one eye wincing shut as each movement sends a lightning bolt through my leg. I grab at Jenna's hands, forcing them down above her head. "Jenna, stop!" Jenna suddenly kicks one of her legs up between Carl's legs and he kneels over her.
Oh no. Fuck!
He really writes a lot of nut shots.
Carl does get beat up all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, Howley keeps writing people getting kicked in the nuts all the time.
Yeah.
He crumples over on top of Jenna, lying on her legs as he tries to pin his thighs together. I look down into Jenna's face. Stop it. What the hell are you doing? Jenna snarls up at me, but it's softer this time. Her struggles die down a little, and after holding my gaze for about 10 seconds, she looks away. I relax my grip a bit, gasping as I try to rearrange my foot so there's not too much pressure on my ankle.
I don't know.
I pull the piece of paper out of her limp fingers and push away from her, waiting to see if she'll come after me again. She doesn't, instead just laying there with her hands above her head, staring at the ceiling. Raven, still with his fingers twisting around his ears, looks over at me. Yeah? Take Jenna upstairs. Take a nap or something. I think we need to be kept separate for now. As Raven hurries over to Jenna, Carl rolls off with a groan. Raven's easily able to coax Jenna up off the floor, and they head upstairs, Jenna looking down at the floor all the while. I scoot over to Carl, holding my breath as each drag sends another spasm through my leg. He's on his side, hands between his legs as he squints over at the wall. Once he notices me, he looks at my ankle.
Fuck. Are you okay, man?
No, I don't think so. I stepped on it wrong again.
God damn it. What the fuck is her problem?
It's okay. You're just gonna have to carry me again. Carl chuckles. Chukles. before letting out another softer groan.
What did I say about getting beat up all the time?
Are you okay?
No. She kicked me in the fucking balls.
And we've established how big those are.
Yeah. Probably easy target.
The mooning incident. I sit quietly for a moment, the pain in my ankle fading into a more cold, electric sting rather than molten lava. What the hell is going on? Why would she try to burn it? Carl is quiet for a moment, then he looks up at me again.
You know, right?
What?
I could be wrong since nothing makes sense here.
What?
You know this probably had something to do with James and John.
I rub the back of my head again, feeling a bump swelling up already. Didn't we already figure out that's what's going on?
I mean, with Jenna, you know how James was sort of talking to me?
Yeah. Like he told you what to find.
Yeah, but I think something is talking to Jenna too.
John?
Maybe.
To make you guys fight? Weren't they lovers? Would there be a reason for John wanting this paper not to be read? Carl doesn't say anything, choosing to roll onto his back and lay his hands out to either side of him. I look down at the paper in my hand. Well, should I read this now or wait for the others?
Might as well do it now. She might try something again.
Alright, I'm gonna read it out loud then. Carl waves a hand in the air, indicating that I should go ahead. I scoot back against the wall so that I can stretch my leg out, then start reading. My dearest John, I've been hearing terrible things lately.
Some cute, upbeat, flashback music.
They say that you've been accusing me of the most egregious monstrosities. I dare not believe them. In fact, I will not until I hear your words for myself. There must be some misunderstanding. As one of my many political enemies pitted you against me, are they using the missing native boys as a weapon against my campaign? I would not think that to be below them, but what concerns me most is you. Please, visit me at my mansion. We must speak on this. I very much look forward to your company, and believe that we can soon set this straight. Heh, phrasing. Yours forever, James. I look up at Carl. He looks back at me. So, what do you think that means? Carl rubs inconspicuously at his crotch.
I guess something went wrong between James and John. Well, no kidding. Like,
Yeah.
that was a pretty innocuous letter. There was like nothing damning in there at all, really.
Well, yeah.
Just the implication that there was perhaps
something.
Yeah.
Spreading rumors.
But that letter in and of itself is not like damning evidence in such a fashion enough to be burned. Like,
It's from James to John, and John was the native, right?
yeah. Well, and I know that because he also mentions his campaign.
It's interesting because it's framed as a.
Well, he says the
narrative
boys.
the narrative that we were given was that they were a couple, and then it was exposed, and then like basically John got lynched, right? But then James was basically sheltered by his power and money.
Yeah, I thought that they mentioned way long ago that nobody was mad about them being gay, which to me it stood out to me because it was such a weird thing to not have be a problem back then. It was like something else that they were mad about. I think maybe because one guy was native, the other guy wasn't. I feel like it wasn't because they were gay that happened.
I thought it was very specifically because they were gay. I don't know. Not easy to recheck.
yeah, it's true. But I mean, the missing native boys might be a thing to mention. I feel like
the ice cream is made of people.
James wrote the letter. Wait, which one wrote the letter again? I'm getting them.
This was James's letter.
Yeah, so I think James is luring John to the mansion that in the situation that will lead to the lynching that he dies from.
I think they were far away from each other originally, or when it happened. I don't know.
Well, I mean, or I feel like this is a trap. It's like, oh, meet me at my mansion. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Missing boys? That's not true, right?
Well, yeah, but what? It sounds like he tried to frame him or something. I remember the newspaper clipping that had somehow gone up in flames. Hey, that newspaper article that burned up said something about the Masetta kid that went missing.
So, native kids were going missing, and John used it to get at James somehow? I think James is the reason for the missing kids for some reason, and I think John knows this. Maybe.
We still don't know if John was doing it anyway. James doesn't seem to know either. I wonder if we'd have been better off if Carl had a little bit of James in him right now.
Oh, so they're criticizing us for our decision.
James in me. I mean, if I would make any decision in any game, I would always include the doubt that you made the wrong one.
Oh yeah, no, you got. Like, I think no matter which route we picked, I think we would have gotten hazed a little bit for our decision.
Yeah.
And I wonder how that fight would have gone down if he had. Would he have been meaner to Jenna? Would he have knocked her out?
Does he just let her get eaten by the stove?
Oh yeah, huh? Maybe.
At least then we'd have a better idea of what's going on. Maybe. Then again, the situation's so volatile with Jenna that I'm kind of glad we don't have another ghost to deal with in Carl. I look at the ram, who's in the middle of pulling his waistband out to look at his junk. If James is still influencing Carl somehow, then he isn't really showing it. Nope, just Carl being goofy.
Just Carl looking at his nads.
Yep. You okay? Carl abruptly lets go of the waistband, letting it snap back against his waist.
Huh? Yeah, I'm fine.
Are your, balls okay? Carl smiles ruefully.
They look fine. Look fine. Still kind of hurt.
I think about making a joke about making them feel better, but that doesn't feel really appropriate right now.
I'm actually more worried about Jenna, and not just because she can beat me up.
Yeah. It seemed at this point Jenna isn't really Jenna anymore.
Should we talk to her about, I don't know, resisting it? It's worked for me.
I look in the direction of the door as a loud click emanates from it. Carl's long ears perk and he follows my gaze. We both stare at it for a few seconds.
Do you think...
Maybe? Slowly, Carl gets to his feet, still a little bow-legged, and hobbles towards the door. Careful, I say, a little apprehensive that something might open it from the other side. Carl doesn't say anything and slowly shuffles towards the door, pausing in front of it for a few seconds. Slowly, he reaches out and rests a hand on the handle and gives it a slight push. It shifts open a few inches. Carl looks back at me.
I think we should get the others.
We all stand around the door, Carl to my right and Raven to my left. I'm stuck in the middle again. Raven and I making sure there's maximum distance between Jenna and Carl. The door is still shifted open a few inches, and the vertical black void it reveals is a little ominous. So we just go through?
I don't know, man. That's what we did last time, right?
Yeah. I feel like the real question is if we really want to go through the door in the first place. Is it just going to lead to another terrible place where terrible things happen?
Probably.
I feel a void similar to the one that I'm looking at open up in my chest. The thought of being trapped in a loop, going through the door after door that leads to nothing but horror. Already this place was having an effect on Jenna. It seemed to be getting worse with each passing hour. How much longer can she keep it together?
What did the letter say?
I tense up. Anything she does now is putting me on edge, like I'm just waiting for her to lash out again. My hand drifts conspiratorially to my pocket, where the folded up letter is. I glance to my right at Carl, but he's got his eyes on the door. A few things, just more history stuff.
About what?
I decide at that moment that I have to lie. We need to keep Jenna, or John, calm if we want to get through this. I have a feeling that Jenna, John, wouldn't want to hear about James revealing what I assume are secrets. I didn't read anything about John trying to sabotage James in my research, but maybe that's what James is trying to tell us. So I shrugged my shoulders, moving my hand away from my pocket. Stuff about the mine, how there wasn't enough of it to sustain the town. I'm worried Jenna might challenge my lie, for whatever reason. She doesn't say anything, though, and Carl just keeps on staring straight ahead. Raven suddenly claps his hands together, making Carl and I jump. So, should we open it? Raven reaches out. Wait. The husky pauses and looks back at me expectantly, both of his ears tipped forward. Should we do this? I mean, it's probably just going to lead to another place where we have to find another thing. Yeah? So, maybe we shouldn't keep going. I stumble over my words, trying to piece together my feelings and put them into sentences as I go. I just think that we're not really on... Yeah. I just think they're not really on our side, you know? I make an effort not to look at Jenna. So if they're not, why are we doing what they want us to do? I realize I'm shaking now, and I make an effort to make my hand still. That's when I feel something big and warm slide into my right hand, and I glance down to find Carl holding it. He gives me a quick look and a small smile before returning his attention back to the door. What else should we do? Raven's tone isn't accusatory, but it is genuinely curious. I don't have a very good answer. Well, maybe we can find a way back somehow. Maybe we're still in Carl's house right now. Carl's house. The place seems like it's thousands of miles and years away at this point. Maybe we can, like, wake ourselves up somehow. Raven doesn't respond, and neither does anyone else. I realize how stupid I must sound. Sorry, I just feel like we're taking things too fast right now. Carl gives my hand another squeeze.
Hey dude, we're all a little scared. We can talk about things.
Carl looks past me at Raven and Jenna.
No rush. I'm actually starting to feel the same way.
I feel my cheeks burn at the way I'm holding everyone back because I'm scared.
So, when I had that guy in my head, I sort of felt like he was taking us somewhere.
Carl runs the hand, not holding mine, up one of his horns, scratching at it.
Like an endpoint, you know?
Carl fidgets with one of his ears. Like a good endpoint?
Yeah, man, I think so.
That doesn't sound very convincing.
You can stay here if you want, Otter.
It takes me a second to realize she's talking to me. Is she really that far gone? I just hope that if we reach the end of this, we can get her back somehow.
Whoa, Jenna, that's crazy.
I cough to clear my throat. No, I'll go. I just wanted to think about it for a second.
Have you thought about it then?
Yeah. I look at Carl, but he only offers me a shrug and a comforting rub on the shoulder.
Well, if that's all, then let's go.
Jenna steps forward to grab the door handle, and I bite my tongue to keep from saying we should wait again. The door swings open to reveal blackness, just like the last time. Unlike the last time, though, there's a spot of flickering light in the distance. The fire. Everything's quiet now, no drumbeat, but the darkness is unnatural. It's inky and thick, like it's alive. I get the unnerving feeling that it's trying to eat the light from the fire. Maybe towards the fire? Jenna suddenly steps forward, and just like that, she's swallowed by the darkness. Jenna, wait! She ignores me. Carl gives his shoulders another shrug.
Well, if she is being, persuaded, I guess she probably knows where she's going.
I see her form pass in front of the firelight a few times, then she's gone. Alright, here we go. Despite his nervousness, Raven still sounds cheerful about stepping into oblivion.
Oh, what a good boy. You ready, dude?
I look over at Carl, and he's gazing back at me warmly, an encouraging smile on his face.
Dude, I'm reaching my limits too. If we have to do another place like this...
His ears droop, looking almost defeated. I nod, swallowing as quietly as I can. He pulls me into his side by my hand and wraps an arm around my shoulder.
Just stay close, okay?
Yeah. I step forward with him, and immediately we're immersed in blackness. Not only do things go dark visually, but the change is physical too. I don't know if it's all in my head, but I feel heavier, like the darkness is pushing down on my shoulders. It's colder too, to the point where I can feel the heat radiating off of Carl's body when I brush up against him.
Doing okay, man?
Yeah. You?
Yeah, I'm good.
The going is slow, and not just because of my injured, probably broken ankle. The ground is uneven and rocky, like we're outside walking in the desert. Which I realize is exactly what we're doing when we walk straight into what feels like a sagebrush. Carl thrashes around with a hand, not holding on to me, and we're able to sort of stumble around it. Where the hell are we? I mutter as I stub my toe painfully on a rock.
Outside?
Yeah, but where outside?
The desert, right?
So, do you think we're still an echo? Carl's quiet for a moment.
Maybe, but not really. I mean, I don't think we can just walk to our houses.
I wonder if maybe all the others, TJ, Leo, and Flynn, are out here too, in the darkness. I want to call out, but I'm too nervous that it's going to attract something to us. I still remember the black figure dancing around the fire we're walking towards at this very moment. We're close enough now that I'm starting to be able to make out Carl in the darkness. I look back at the house to see how far we've gone. All that I can make out now are two rectangles of light. One for the door we came out of, and one for the kitchen window. In the latter, a dark figure stands framed by the faint light inside. Oh boy.
Oh no.
I squint, not really sure of what I'm seeing. Then it moves, disappearing from the window. I stop walking and Carl stops with me, looking back over his shoulder.
What?
Did one of the others go back? The black figure appears again, this time in the doorway of the house. I don't even have time to react to that before it steps forward and the door swings shut with a distant snap. Oppressive blackness takes its place. I grab onto Carl more tightly.
What the hell?
My mind flashes back to the black thing I'd seen crawling out of the wardrobe. Come on. I nudge into Carl's side, trying to get him to hurry along while resisting the urge to try and run on my twisted ankle. I'm realizing that it might come to that. Raven! Jenna! I call out into the darkness ahead of us, wanting to warn them. Over our ragged breathing, though, there's dead silence all around us, except for a drum beat. Either they can't hear us, or they can't respond. Carl's gripping onto me with both of his hands, practically hauling me off my feet as he pulls me along. Suddenly, he stops.
What the fuck am I doing?
He lets me go and crouches down in front of me.
On my back.
I'm there before he finishes his sentence, and soon my face is bouncing off his hard skull as he starts sprinting towards the fire. Whether it's in my head or not, I swear I can hear a slithering sound behind me, like a snake sliding over dry leaves. I shiver, not wanting to look back, but I do anyway, trying to peer into the darkness. Of course I can't see anything, but I swear something flashes in front of the lone rectangle of light coming from the cabin's kitchen window. The rustling sound gets louder, and now I can't pretend that I'm imagining it. It casts a picture into my mind. That black shadow creature contorting and bending through the sagebrush that Carl was having so much trouble moving through. I held on to one of his horns and leaned towards his ear. Carl, it's getting close. And then my stomach lurches as it feels like the floor just suddenly drops away. The next thing I know, my nose smacks hard into the back of Carl's head before I flip over, landing on my back in what feels like a sea of sharp rocks. I lay there for a second, dazed, staring at the black ocean above me, wondering if any of this is real. Am I still dreaming? Maybe I'll just wake up in my dorm, probably late to my legal and ethical issues in journalism class.
Fuck, are you okay?
A muffled voice breaks through my haze of confusion and pain. Then I'm being yanked back up as Carl pulls me to my feet and clumsily shoves me back onto his back.
Sorry. Shit, sorry.
Fine. I can barely mumble through my numb mouth, which feels like it's full of pennies. It's a very Freudian moment there.
Full of what, Keith? What were you thinking of?
I can see I'm making dark stains on the back of Carl's shirt. It feels like my face is caved in. I wonder if my nose is broken, but the fear of the pursuit is returning, and I quickly clutch at Carl's horns before he resumes his sprint. He finally comes to a stumbling halt in front of the massive bonfire, which had looked so small in the cabin. We both stare up at it, the heat almost unbearable.
Um...
The whispers behind me reach a crescendo, the hissing just over my shoulder. What are we supposed to do? My voice raises in pitch as I look back behind us, the black shape now discernible in the firelight as it slithers around the rocks and sagebrush. It's like a person imitating a snake. I grip onto Carl as he turns to face it, then takes a step back, then another.
I don't know.
I cling to the ram, and I can feel him trembling underneath me. As the creature reaches the edge of the circle of firelight, Carl turns and starts running past the fire. And then my muscles seize up. My jaw clenches, my eyes roll back, and I feel myself falling backwards. Well.
Huh.
I guess we made it.
Just to
somewhere.
Sherbert Land.
It's like I guess it's like a wind noise, isn't it?
It's wind chimes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there was like a rumbling that I think is just actually the sound of like wind on microphone.
Yeah, probably.
Well.
Authentic.
That's quite the transition.
Yeah.